Hey guys, so this is a Boreem Tankman gasoline two-stroke scooter. This is the second take of the video, so I'm going to try to make this pretty quick. I actually stopped the last take, it got very long. I'm just going to get into, this is going to be a help video, but I'm going to get into a bit of a background about this scooter first. Now, we've had this scooter for, we've had it today and then we got it yesterday. Now this scooter, we got this from our family farm. My family has got 2 barns over at that farm. They got tons of acres down in Leland, Illinois, and we have picnics every year, which we bring all kinds of toys out to, these being some of them. We got 7 go-karts, 3 of them we just fixed up and they're being stored out there until the next picnic in a month or so, and these ones we just brought back yesterday along with this thing. These ones got damaged at the last family picnic, but it isn't much. This one just had a throttle cable snap with the kids going too hard on it, and that one just needs some carburetor work since it dies if you don't keep the gas going. But I'll make some videos about these later. Right now this isn't the topic at hand. We also got a dune buggy. This thing needs tons of work as far as the drive system, so I'll make a video of all these later. So anyway, hold on a second. My glasses are always messed up. Sorry about that. Just let the camera hang on my wrist. So anyway, we picked up the scooter yesterday because my cousin Robby has got a workshop in one of those barns, and we saw this in the back and we asked him about it. I forgot what my dad asked, but we just asked him about it, and he immediately told us, please take it. If you have the room, if you want to do a project, then you can have it. We thought that was pretty cool. It was sitting in the back of his barn, kind of onto the side, very dusty. It was just like going into an old antique shop or whatever, and this was very dusty. You really couldn't even see the paint, it was so dusty, and you couldn't even tell the color. And I just thought there was, I mean, obviously enough work and time would have it going. There's my cat. She invited herself out into the garage, but we just you know, we thought this thing would need tons of work, but we still agreed to take it. So my brother and I took it. We loaded it into the back of Dad's cargo van, which he's not supposed to be driving, but we've driven it plenty of times. It's for his work. So we got in the back of the van, we brought it home, we pulled the go-karts in and set them aside, and because I wanted to get started on this. Now, my brother really wasn't too interested in it, so my brother's kind of dropped out of this, but I've got a lot of interest in this thing. The problem is, it's just got some problems and I just wanted you guys to give me some advice. So the first order of business, we tried it after we pressure washed it and got it nice and sparkling, not sparkling, just we pressure washed it and it looks a lot better than it did before. The first order of business after that was we're trying to start the engine, and obviously I didn't think it would. The engine didn't start. We started a lot of times. We messed with the key switch. The key was actually rusted into the key switch. So what we had to do, we sprayed some WD-40 down there, and not only would the key not come out, but the key switch also would not turn. But eventually, we got to turn, and the key comes out. The key's not damaged in any way. It's the actual key that came with it, and the key switch works fine now. But we messed with everything. We couldn't get the engine to start. So the first order, the order of business after that was we were trying to get the electric start to work, and obviously that, along with the headlight and the horn, take a battery. So we were stumped for a few minutes trying to find the battery, since these are pretty much unpopular scooters. And this is like the second video of one of these on YouTube or something. So, but finally we figured out that it was this little like metal plate here. We pulled it up. We found the battery in there. We thought it was completely dead. We thought there was no hope for it. Because this thing appears to be all like this is really advanced as far it doesn't have any loose wires. It's got all connectors or plugs or whatever you want to call them. There's no like terminals or anything like that. They're all plugs. And I thought that was pretty interesting. So, sorry, I'm kind of lost. So, we cut the connections to the battery. We cut the wires to the battery, and then we stripped them, and then we hooked them up to a conventional battery charger that we've got. And because obviously we don't have the charger for this thing, so we connected them to a conventional battery charger, and we charged them quite a few times, and then we finally let it run overnight. And in the morning, the charger was reading 100%. And then I tried to, just to be sure, I tried to restart the charge. I unplugged and plugged back in the charger, and it was still saying 100%. So I'm like, that can't be. This battery's been sitting for probably at least a year now, and but sure enough, I fixed one of the wires down there. One of the wires had snapped in half, so I twisted that back together, turned the key, did this, and sure enough, the headlight popped on. We got good power here. Just to prove to you guys that the battery does work. Now, it is pretty late at night, and my dad's in bed, so I'm just going to give you guys a quick blast on the horn. It is pretty loud. Now, the thing that kind of disappointed me is when it came to the electric start. As you guys can see, the electric start is not cranking the engine. The solenoid under there is just clicking. So the electric start will not do anything. So the next thing we tried to do was start the engine, since we figured the motor might need the battery to spark the engine, and still it did not go. So we after that we had so much experience with lawnmowers and stuff. We got all 3 lawnmowers back there. Dad's got one of them for sale. All 3 lawnmowers back there at some point had carburetor issues, and so we figured that this thing has been sitting for a while. There's my cat again. And this thing could probably use a good cleaning of the carburetor. There's probably some junk in there. So we took off the carburetor. We gave it a thorough cleaning with carburetor cleaner, just the parts that we can use carburetor cleaner on, because believe me, carburetor cleaner and plastic carburetors do not work well. And we learned the hard way on the Honda mower back here, and we have to replace the carburetor on this thing because it can no longer choke. I mean, it starts on first pull, and then we've cleaned the carburetor, but it cannot choke, which we'll probably need the choke in the winter. And if we put it on choke, then it stays stuck on choke, because we messed up the linkage by using carburetor cleaner on plastic carburetor. So don't do that, guys. If you want to keep your carburetors working right, then don't use carburetor cleaner on plastic carburetors. So we used the carburetor cleaner on the appropriate parts that weren't plastic, and then we just used something else on the rest of the carburetor, and then we finally put the linkage back on. We put everything back together. It was tons of work, and finally we tried to start it, and it did not do anything. However, we fiddled with there's a screw down here. Now I don't know too much about these things, but there's a screw right there, it's kind of got a spring on it, and my dad knows that if you adjust that screw just right, you're adjusting the carburetor, and that's what will get your engine running properly. But by the time we had actually gotten it started slightly, it kept dying on me. So by that time, it was kind of late this evening, and my dad was ready to go inside. So I stayed out here for another hour or so, turning that screw about a quarter and trying to find that perfect spot, and then kept trying to start this thing with the pull starter. A few times I got it to stay like idling for about 10 seconds, and that was pretty cool. Unfortunately, it died right after that, and then you have to wait, and then I had to count 5 minutes on the clock, because every time I tried to start it after that, it did not start. So I kind of had to count 5 minutes on the clock, turn the screw, and try a different setting every 5 minutes, because it would not restart after trying to start it. So again, the maximum time that this thing was like, we had this thing running was like probably 12 seconds at the max we got this thing to run. But what I'm asking you guys is, why have you guys got any ideas as to why this thing will not run and stay running? It's we cleaned it up very good. We cleaned the carburetor, and there is no reason this thing should not be like running properly. The problem with this is we got this big thing to take care of, and we got those two things to take care of before the family picnic, and the problem is this is the last thing on Dad's mind at this point. We like messed around with this thing a bit today, but Dad's pretty much ready to get working on this doom buggy here, which he needs to work on the drive system. So anyway, this is pretty much going to be my scooter because Dad's kind of out of it. He said specifically to me he's not going to be willing to spend the money on this. He's not like ready to take on this other project. And my brother's pretty much out of this, so this is basically my project now, and after this is complete, I plan to use this thing after I'm 16 and I'm driving a car and I've got my license, because in Illinois you got to have a license to drive these things on the street. I do plan to use this for my transportation, probably my daily transportation before I get a car. And I've got all the parts. If you guys are wondering where the seat is, the seat's over here on the doom buggy. We've got all the parts for this thing. We've got the little basket that goes on the top, which is right here. It's got some of the parts in it that we used to take it apart, whatever. But I just am asking you guys if you guys got any suggestions as to why this, if you guys can help me out here, because again, like, my dad's not like willing to put any cash into this. He's already got enough cash put into all these, and we're having some. I'm not going to get into that, but but I am going to be willing to spend some cash on this, not too much. So if you guys, I would try to start it now. It's been sitting for quite a while since I last tried this. But I don't want to start it on camera, since I would have to put the camera down just to try to start it. But this thing does start, and it does run for about a maximum of 10 or 12 seconds, then it instantly dies. If I give it gas, sometimes I know sometimes if I give it gas, that'll just make it die faster. And I also tried priming it while it was about to die, and that also seemed to make it die faster. So obviously, I think it's got. I think tomorrow I'm just going to continue to mess with the carburetor adjustment, turn it, and see if I can find that point where I can get it to stay running. But if you guys know anything about these scooters, I know they are Chinese. It's a completely off-brand that I've never heard of, like Boreem. I've never heard of them. It's not a classic Honda or Kawasaki or Yamaha. It's a Boreem Tankman, and I've never heard of this thing before. So if you guys have got any experience with these things, please let me know for the 5,000th time. Because I do hope to get this thing running soon, and I do want this to be my my daily transportation after I'm old enough to drive, which will be in about a year, and I take driver's ed and everything. I do want this to be my transportation. And currently, if it doesn't stay running for forever, then it only stays running for about 12 seconds. Then that can't be. So, but everything else on it is fine. Key switch works. Electric start. The solenoid pops. There's the headlight, that works fine, which I'm surprised. Yeah, there's the key. This is the official key that came with it, the original key. Tankman, it says. So the video's gotten a bit long by now. If you guys can please help me out with this, because like my dad will of course do his best to help me out on this, but he's kind of thinking just to put this away for the winter and get it back out in the spring. And I kind of like to get this project going, and I kind of want to get this thing. I kind of like to drive this thing and have some fun with it before the winter comes around. And I start high school the day after tomorrow, so it's going to be tons of stress, tons of new stuff. So I don't even know like how often I'm going to be able to come down here and work on this thing with all the homework I'm going to be getting. But I will definitely try to pay tons of attention to this thing, and I do want to get it after I can get it running. My dad's going to help me get all the rust off it, and this is going to become a very nice scooter that I'll probably be using to pop around town after I get my driver's license in a year. So, thanks for watching. I'm sorry I could not crank it on the video. It's very quiet, but I don't want to wake my dad up. He's sleeping up there. It's like 10 o'clock at night. Make that almost, yeah, about 10:15. So anyway, thanks for watching, and please, if you guys got any suggestions, please let me know. Thanks.